Today we have with us Vivek Anand, Head of Content at Trendline. And this is an exclusive presentation from IIFL Securities and Trendline. Vivek, could you tell me, lockdowns are back again and the health infrastructure in the country is crumbling. There are so many cases. How is it going to affect the economy, the different sectors and markets as well?
So if you notice, the lockdowns has not been very severe as last year. So not a lot of sectors will get affected, but there have been localized lockdowns. So very specific industries have been allowed, if you see, and those have been called as essentials. So except for that, manufacturing will take a hit a little bit, but different states have different rules. So what worked last year, like a generalization, we will not be able to apply that here. So some states have allowed real estate infrastructure projects to go on. Some states have allowed export-oriented units to go on. Some states have allowed specific manufacturing units, say of an auto sector, which exports that to go on. So it's little dispersed this time. So we'll have to see, because we just entered the lockdown in various states because they woke up a little late. So April will give us a better sense, and that sense usually starts with the auto sector data that comes out on the first of every month. Usually the end of the month, so it usually comes in the first of the month. That will give us cues. So we should all wait for the auto sector data to figure out how the economy is going to fare, because we generally use that also as a proxy for economic activity.
So you mentioned a little bit about real estate, and you wrote a report last week. So what's the reading on real estate space?
So what happened was, because generally real estate is the second largest employer as a sector in India, most of the state governments, after a little nudge by the central government, they had taken stamp duty cuts so that they could boost a little bit of real estate activity. So there were a lot of sales that happened. A lot of listed companies, including Shobha, and a lot of Bombay-based companies also, because Maharashtra had cut their stamp duty really by a huge margin. Considering that Maharashtra has really high stamp duty rates, that actually stimulated sales. So there were a lot of sales that happened. So if you actually see Shobha and other companies which share their monthly data, quarterly data, you saw that there was a rise in the units sold, or they call it square feet sold, million square feet. What happened was, not all these states, especially Maharashtra, continued this after, say, 31st of March.
Right.
So there was a rush. A lot of bookings happened. That is why Q4 is going to work out well for most real estate companies. But what happened was, especially in Maharashtra, at the end of March, they started curbing activities. So real estate companies which run commercial premises, like say a mall, those companies will get affected. So say like a Phoenix Mills, right, they will have a problem because they have a mall business, and they also have like a St. Regis Hotel in Lower Parel in Bombay. So that is going to get impacted slightly. But how this will play out in the subsequent quarters, because we have no clarity on how the lockdowns will play out, that's why the management commentary on these things will be very keenly watched in the earnings con calls after the results are announced.
Well, Vivek, now let's come to the second part of the discussion. Most people are waiting for that because we have put that on our thumbnail. Let's talk about the API makers. You have written about two pharma company API makers, Solara and Aurore, right?
They announced the merger. Yeah, so Solara, these are Hyderabad-based companies. So Solara Active Pharma is, they have, say, like a contract manufacturing division, and they also have an API division.
Okay.
What these, so the promoters of Solara and Aurore Group have done is, all the group companies of Aurore Group have been merged. I mean, I won't go into the details of the merger, but the fusion will create one of the largest API makers in the country. It's like a pure play API maker, which although both companies had that prowess, now them coming together has put Solara Active Pharma on the map. Not that it already wasn't. What one needs to understand is why this happened. In the last 1 year, if you remember, India had the government has calibrated their strategy for the for the pharma sector, especially with respect to the API makers. They
Right.
want to like more manufacturing of such intermediates for pharmaceutical products to be made in India, because
Right.
there's a lot of reliance on companies from China, and there's geopolitical issues has also played into this.
Correct.
So if you see, pharma companies had a big rally over the past 12 months.
Right.
Now, the funny thing is, because again, pharma companies, because we're in a pandemic, pharma companies are the focus. That's why most investors made money last year. That's what they're thinking that is going to happen again. It's the,
Right.
I mean, it was called the pharma rally last year.
So it's going
So-
to happen again this year? You're saying that?
So the thing is, what is happening is the pharma companies, their prices have shot up a lot. But
Right.
these intermediate makers, they are positioning themselves to enjoy the future growth potential, because a lot of companies want to start making in India and they don't want to import stuff. So they are basically coming together, and that gives them scale and the ability. So if, say, Aurora Group, which has a contract manufacturing division also and a API division, they come together, the synergies of multiple being able to sell these products or these intermediates for multiple clients across the world. So
Right.
one that position Solara, they're trying to position, at least the management, they seem to be positioning it as one of the largest API makers. Investors will obviously look at this as a theme, because this is what happened over the past 1 year.
Right.
A lot of pharma companies have announced capex.
Right.
So to feed that capex domestically, you will have to have these raw material like intermediate providers also. So that's what Solara Active Pharma is trying to do with this deal.
So, so basically, you're saying that there is a strategic shift. A lot of global pharma makers want to tap India as they used to do with China, and there is a positioning available, and that is why this consolidation is going to help, right?
Yeah, this consolidation is going to help. So another reason is China also, because they took a little drastic measures against certain manufacturing facilities in China,
Right.
that supply is moving, it's coming to India now.
Okay.
Because they were so strict. So that has been happening, but now the pandemic has shined a light on this changing dynamic, and that is why you understand that they're positioning themselves as a pure play for API maker, because that has become the focus now. So there are like multiple layers to it. It's not just what it's there's a little bit underneath also, if you actually think about it. It's been a trend that has been happening. They're encashing that now. I assume if they perform according to whatever, I mean, if you put together these two companies, their revenues, if they actually are able to achieve growth on that base, then investors will be very, very happy. But it remains to be seen. The thing is, most mergers, the execution is the key factor. If you cannot execute, it might become difficult. Let's see. I mean,
do you think Indian pharma API they can do something like Infosys, Wipro, and TCS did some 20-25 years ago? There could be, you know, people will rely for them for drug making in India. Can they create that kind of?
No, so that is happening. That's not the case. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to, I mean, as they say, create value,
Right.
higher value for existing shareholders. That's the positioning.
Right.
To say whether it will happen or not, that's why I said, like, my caveat was, mergers are very difficult to predict. When you have to meld two organizations together or one or two organizations together, it takes time for it to actually flatten out and then see where it is going. If they are able to do it quickly, that's when you can probably say that it will work or it will not work. But this is, API makers are the focus in the pharma sector right now. That's why this deal makes sense.
Thank you, Vivek. It was wonderful talking to you. Dear investors, we'll come back with another session of Trendline Exclusive only on IIFL Markets YouTube channel. Thank you very much.